The goal is to give ourselves kind of a leadership toolbox. When Tamara and I started this journey back in the fall, we were thinking, no matter who won that election, we were gonna go from a difficult environment to a more hostile environment for women leaders. Yeah. So we wanted to do what we could to try to shore things up. Now I'm a grassroots organizer and in tech. So my thing is legislation, let's get out there, let's organize. But also, CSW's coming up, one of my favorite times, one of my favorite conferences. Let's come together with other leaders and share information so that we can try to get the things that we need to make this journey a little bit smoother. So that was the thought that came behind this. Now, what we did was we invited a group of dynamic leaders. One will hopefully be in the room soon. She's coming down either from Boston or she's going to join us over Zoom. And we have two here, of course, our moderator Tamara and Yvonne. And then we have Florine, who's all the way in Togo, West Africa. And we have Colette, who is in California.
All right.
All right, now we brought leaders together that had very different backgrounds, but similarities in their leadership journey. So we have people who are grassroots, people who have managed billion-dollar budgets, people who worked mostly in a not-for-profit space, like all of you. And we have some of us that were in tech and that were startups and mid-caps. So we brought everybody together so that we can kind of get different perspectives on things. And we have different people with different family lives, different people who have different faiths, so different faith-based. And we said, hey, bring you, whether you're faith-based or not, tell your story however you want to tell your story. And all of you, we're going to invite you to share. Take maybe a minute or so and share something from your story. So we're gonna ask one or two people at various points to take a minute and share. And then we all take from it what makes sense for us.
Welcome to Resilient Her. And I just wanted to take a moment to speak about the word resilient, because sometimes they throw that word out as if to be resilient means that you are unscathed from hurt or pain, right? So I just want to lift up and again hold space that yes, we can be resilient, but that doesn't mean that we are scathed from pain, but it does mean that we've put some intentional things in place to thrive in spite of it, all right?
I need to know what I have and what I need, right? Like the skills that I need to bring in. The short version is I told them what I wanted, but they came up with the methodology. They interviewed them. They primarily did field work. They followed them for half a day, the whole thing. And then they came back with a report basically telling me that none of my staff possessed the skills of the jobs that they were in, right? And so, also, if I didn't mention it, the reason that I had like $1 million in debt is because we were losing about a 250 at least a year. And the short version again is she said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm not firing them all. They're from here. I said, I want to do a professional development plan for every single one of them. And when I started, we were losing the typical 250. And I remember we had an outside accounting consultant because our in-house bookkeeper, who unfortunately has since passed herself, could not do the work. And I turned to her and I said, okay, so almost the end of our fiscal year, what is going to be? What's the damage? And she was like, Tanisha, there is no damage. You have a surplus. So we went from about to lose 250 to 100K surplus 7 months later, right? And ultimately raised $15 million with the same staff. Same stuff. Okay. So what I think it takes is a belief in your people, an understanding of thinking of what are our assets. And what I knew the asset was them. They believed in that place. That's why they work there. I'll tell you one other interesting thing. Our HR person, because of course we had a core staff that was just a dozen, but we employed over 150 people, typically part-time during the course of the year. And she complained, and she knows this, that I say about this about her too, that people would come during the time that I was there. They would maybe start as a ticket taker at like $10, $11, and then they would get these skills and they would leave, right? And she was like, I said, but maybe that's our role too. Maybe our role is for people who nobody else would hire, that we would hire and develop them and wish them well off. And so we should be proud of that. So what it takes is a belief, but also thinking very strategically.
I just wanted to say we were brought in to help an African NGO called ARD International. And the idea was to develop budget. I was the program director, the operation director, and I had a colleague who was there for the development. And it was an amazing idea, and we were trying to sell it to get new grants to USAID, to UNHCR, World Food Program, anyway, various UN agencies. And after 2 years, while I was managing very well the various operations in 10 African countries, my colleague wasn't able to raise any real money. And so, it started looking after 2 years, a little like a failure to everyone, including ourselves and the team, and the morale started really going down because we were losing credibility. People were wondering if he had a strategy to raise funds, and so we were looking at areas around how to remain resilient, how to show teamwork, and how to help him, and so on. And so basically I took the lead. I said to myself, where I can stay here and say, I let him do it because it's his job, or I start helping. And because we were at the brink of failure, after 2 years, he didn't manage. And I decided I was going to help him because I knew the operations. I knew what was happening on the ground. I knew what it meant to serve refugees. I spent time with them. I knew what it meant to work with the poorest people in the world, poor communities. I spent time with them. So I felt that I could maybe write something that would help us win a major grant. And obviously a major grant came along, and I decided to take the lead and write it. So I wrote the entire draft for the grant, and then prepare a draft for my friend that I had existing and send it to him, the over director, and say, copy it, fill it with data, and see what you can do with us. And then my proposal, I sent to all the staff and said, check everything and tell me if this is working for you, fill it with data, change whatever you want. So they edited it and so on. And basically, it was really teamwork. We put a lot of effort into it. And it was like, we were nearly like 20 months going, and the 2-year lapse was closing and no major grant. But anyway, we believe it, we send it. And when we send it, we heard about 2-3 months later, we got $10 million. So $7.5 million for me and $2.5 for him. And so I was so happy. We pushed through, and we kept on believing that yes, we can succeed, and failure is not final, and you have to keep on being perseverant, persistent, resilient until the last moment. We weren't doing this for us. We were serving the poorest people in the world, people who were living in mud houses. So, getting things for them, and we were getting a new country as well. We're working in refugees camp. We were going to serve new refugees, and we were going to make their life better. So at the end of it, for me, it was a win. And so what I learned through that episode, that time is, even if you fail 99% of the time, it doesn't matter, because if the last moment you win, and it's a big win, then it's important. But I know failure sucks, challenges suck sometimes, but make sure you persevere, you're resilient, you keep on believing in yourself, you keep on being optimistic, enthusiastic, and and you will motivate your team to succeed. So for me, that's what I wanted to share, turning like months of failure into success. By believing in yourself, by believing that you can achieve whatever goal you have, and you can raise money, not for yourself, but for others. So, you dedicate your life for serving others, and that resilience is the gift you give to them.
What tools would you offer up, or inspiration would you offer up for those dealing with imposter syndrome and low self-esteem?
Yes. I'm just giggling because, yes, this is my journey, so can definitely share here. So just to backtrack, I was talking about, running operations for an NGO and running a lot of programmatic elements servicing the dance and arts community. And I was the one that essentially sort of supported my team in overcoming their fears of making something like this happen. So the founder was like, okay, our vision is we're gonna have a big party. We're hip hop dancers, so parties are important to us. That's the way we celebrate community. Food is important to us. So it's a big party. This is the vision. This is a big party. We have sponsors, all these amazing different foods, beverages, right? There's a cooking station where they can learn. I mean, it was an extraordinary vision. And everybody was scared because it was humongous. And one of the things that we did was we were like, okay, we got to start somewhere, right? Like, this is the grand vision, but what's the beta? What's the beginning step of this? And we needed to go out and get sponsorships and in-kind donations. I remember the first time we did it, we had a big photo shoot at House of Yes in Brooklyn. And there, we were looking at, restaurants around the area since we were already there. We found this mom and pop meat shop. Both of us, my friend and I, were nervous. We're like, we had our pamphlet, about, the program, and the owner was there because it was a mom and pop shop. And we're like, hi, we're from this organization. We're trying to do this for the dance community. If y'all don't know, 1 in 3 dancers live above the poverty line, which means 2 in 3 live below. 3 in 4 dancers cannot afford groceries. This was before the pandemic, so I'm sure that it got worse with the pandemic. So we're telling them these facts, and they're like, yeah, sure, I'll send a platter to you guys. And we're like, wait, what? We were floored. We did not know that we could do that, but literally just that one yes built the momentum for us to keep going. Okay, so we got this. And then for me, one of my biggest jobs was getting venue sponsorships. So I would just walk into different places that I thought looked nice, struck up a conversation. So it's I started to practice myself into it, right? And so you start with these small goals. Let's get, a meat sponsorship, let's get a beverage sponsorship. And the thing is that once you build that momentum, you start saying, oh, this restaurant is doing this for us. Do you think you can do this for us? You can start using that as a leveraging point, right? Oh, Trader Joe's has our back. Can you come in? And absolutely. Eventually, once we modeled that as leaders, all of the team members who were even more scared than us, they weren't even they were just dancers that were students, but we're like, you guys can do it too. They started to see the success. They're like, okay, they started to do it as well. And mind you, most of these dancers had 9-to-5 jobs. We were coming to rehearse from 5 to 10 at night. We had meetings from 10:30 to 11:30 at night to organize these events for our community, getting home late, and it was a lot, but we all believed in the vision of it, right? And we wanted this for our community. So, being able to, number one, understand why you're doing what you're doing, what the purpose of it is, how critical and necessary it is for your community, and be able to speak about it, I think is just literally one of the most important things. And we would practice with each other. We would go off and one of us would be, the potential sponsor, one of us would be the person. No, really, we had to. Or we call each other on the phone and practice, because you have to know your spiel, right? After 3 sentences, people are like, who are you? Why are you in my store? Do you want to buy something or not? So it was this is us learning about people's skills, learning how to communicate a vision that we had. And a lot of us were introverted. A lot of us didn't like talking to people. So this was a big feat for a lot of us to be able to do that. But I will say that after 5 years, I was able with, my colleagues to get about $2.5 million worth of resources, groceries, wellness services to our community. And we did not have a budget. We had no budget. We literally ran off of heart, passion, and empathy. And we got so many sponsors from, I mean, now it's like, oh, Starbucks, Target, Trader Joe's. You know, people started to understand this vision more and more. And especially when the pandemic hit, that's when people started to really realize, oh, right, what you're talking about does make sense. Artists are not getting paid for these things. We're like, yeah. So we were already sending that message. And when the pandemic hit, that message was so strong that so much support came in to keep it going even during the pandemic with all the COVID restrictions and things like that. So what I would say is, like, you have to just find a small morsel to begin. Like, there is a grand vision that we need to know, but then hold up for a second, and what's like one small step you can take, and like celebrating all those wins, all those small wins, celebrating them, because they help build a momentum to keep going and keep gathering the resources for your community.